a topic that your potential market would love to listen to, which is more of like, being able to help them out in starting their businesses and growing their businesses.
Yeah, I will answer as much as I can. Sure, as long as they're not too difficult. Oh, sige. Okay.
I mean, they use that. So we're not really right. You can see there's a lot of Syria. All right, so hey everyone. So we're with, of course, the president of Damosa Land, and they are the ones responsible for bringing Regis here to Cagayan de Oro. Let's all welcome Mr. Cary Lagdameo.
Thanks, Steph. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And
thanks for coming. Yeah.
Thanks for inviting, and at the same time, thanks for giving us, this little time together for a quick one-on-one. So a lot of the questions about Regis was already covered in the media briefing. I was thinking that we could talk a little bit more about what it's like building up or scaling a business, because I think that's a topic that a lot of your potential locators would be interested to know about.
Okay. Well, definitely, I mean, I can also speak from experience, because aside from my time with Damosa Land, I mean, I have had my own little businesses and in all kinds of different industries, and made a lot of mistakes. And so I'd like to think that I've learned from those. But as entrepreneurs, what are we really meant to do? And I think that's the successful entrepreneurs, they're meant to solve problems, right? I think you hear that all the time. I mean, we're here to solve the world's problems, etc. But I mean, there's a lot of truth to it. So I think that's probably one thing that startups would probably want to look at, is really what particular problem are you trying to solve? Is it really a pressing problem that if people would buy your product or buy your service, it would really change the way they do things, change their life? And I think that's, rather than just doing a little bit of what's already existing in the market, I think doing something different and something that will really solve a lot of issues, that would probably be the best approach. I know it's not always the easiest, right? A lot of times you'll become the first mover, you'll become the innovator, but from what we've seen, those are the ones that do the best. I think for startups, it applies, and even for companies that are already established. I mean, even for us, for instance, when we built the one in Davao, we were the first to do so, and we knew that there was a need for this type of business, but nobody was doing it yet. We knew it was existing. It was in places such as Metro Manila and other parts of the world, but we knew that there was really a demand for flexible working, for co-working. So we took that plot. So we did invest quite a bit, but we were the first to, I guess you can say, help solve that problem of companies that were looking to invest in Davao. Being the first mover, I think that's definitely an advantage.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So when you were thinking of Cagayan de Oro as a potential area to grow and expand, what were the metrics that you were looking at?
I wish I could say that it was a super scientific method. But of course, we looked at data wherever we could. But a lot of it'll boil down to simple things like how many malls are up and running, how many residential condominium towers are already existing, how many Starbucks outlets already in the city, what foreign brands are already located there. It's actually, sometimes it's actually very simple metrics to look at, because it costs a lot of money to go into a new market. So when you see those types of businesses already ahead of you, then you know that there's a market for people that can afford their products, that can afford their services. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, condominiums, that's a very big indication, because it's expensive to build a condominium. When you build a condominium, it's also a sign that the infrastructure is also good in the area that they're locating in. Yes, we looked at some of the economic data that's available, but it was a lot of just simple metrics, and a lot of it was also just gut feel. We visited here several times, probably like 3 or 4 times before we said, hey, let's take on this project. And I have to admit that there was a different vibe, there was a different aura that I felt when I would come here. I felt excited, and I still do.
Oh, yes. That's part of the gut feel of being an entrepreneur.
It is. It really is, right? And sometimes it's wrong, but hopefully more times it's right. Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned that you had your fair share of mistakes as well as an entrepreneur. So would you mind telling us a little bit more about that? Like, what do you do when you kind of hit a brick wall or when things don't go your way? So how do you pick yourself up as an entrepreneur? How do you keep going or pivot if you need to?
Yeah. First of all, hitting that brick wall is going to happen a lot, right? I mean, the statistics just show that that unfortunately failures outpace success stories, right? But the success stories naman become bigger than is expected. I think probably one thing that you can do when say you hit that brick wall or you have a temporary setback or a temporary failure is to get help. That's one thing that I learned early on that, maybe it's something that I should have done, but there were times in the past where, okay, the business isn't doing well. All right, let's think about closing it down already. That's always the thinking that it's not going well. I don't know what to do. It's not going to be successful. So why don't we just plan on closing it down? But closing down a business, it involves costs, no? Nowadays, I think it's okay to get help, whether it's from friend or relative for temporary loan, for instance, or you ask for business advice from people that you know in your network, or tap into your business network, or maybe your big brothers in the business network to kind of throw you a lifeline or give you really good advice or something like that. Because a lot of times, because we're so stressed with running a business, and sometimes we're so in that bubble or in that silo, we can't really think about anything else. The answers are there. It's just that sometimes you get so clouded in your operations that you're not even able to think about what those solutions are. But somebody else can probably spot it right away for you.
So I think the case with smaller business owners is that you tend to do everything yourself, right? Because you don't have the resources yet. You don't have the staff, unlike Damosa land where you have like a big staff there with you. But for most small entrepreneurs, they're doing things on their own. So maybe perhaps you also started in this way.
Yeah.
So how would you strike a balance with in the business, or I have to work at the business, or making the business grow? How do you strike that balance without being too focused on doing the menial works of the business and then growing the business at the same time?
That's an excellent question. And that's forever the issue of a startup, right? I think one good thing to do is always to go in with trusted partners. If there's several of you in the business, then at least you can kind of farm out the different duties to the ones with particular strength in that subject. I do know where you're coming from because I've also done that myself in some of my entrepreneurial ventures, but even in Damosa land. Before Damosa land became how it is today, at one point we were a lot more lean than this, and I would have to do certain things that thankfully I don't have to do it as much anymore today. But I was doing, I don't want to say menial, but a lot of the admin stuff. Today I still do a little bit of it, not as much anymore. But I guess you have to start somewhere. I think one other thing when you're in a startup is, as much as possible, as I said, one, you have partners that you can kind of split the work with. But second, that's one of the things that you actually should be spending on, good people. So if you have an assistant that you can hire and do the menial work, so that you're not using all of your brain power on day-to-day administrative tasks. You're able to use your mind for thinking about how to solve those problems that you're trying to do. No? Hiring people will cost, but I don't think you're really going to grow if you don't have the right people around you. A one-man show, it doesn't always work all the time. It does sometimes, but more times than not, it's
CEO, Chief Everything Officer.
Yeah, exactly. Diba?
Okay, how do you stay motivated and maintain a positive mindset during the ups and downs of the business?
Actually, there's many things. There's not just one thing that I do, but one thing that I have to do is to exercise. That's, plain and simple. It's not some business tactic or whatever. It's exercise. So in the morning, even this morning, I woke up early so I could go for a run. What does it do? It keeps your mind clear, gives you with that endorphin rush that you need. And honestly, in the 1 hour that I'm either running or working out, that's the time of the day that I get my best business idea. So a lot of times, if you would see me in the gym and I'm running with my phone, it's because if I have a business idea or some aha moment, I'll write it down right away. So that way you're already prepared for when you get to the office. No, absolutely. And when I don't, you can ask the staff. They can see the difference. You're in a better mood, no? When you're healthy and when you have that regular exercise, and it also, at least in my experience, I have a better rapport with my team, and that makes them work better, and then they come up with better ideas, then it becomes it's not just a one-man show. Everyone's just kind of chipping in ideas and stuff, because it starts with me. If I come into the office and I'm in a really foul mood, then the whole office will be in a foul mood. Then how can you get anything good done, right? So if you're just healthy, happy, then that helps a lot. I think also mixing it up with work, not having just a regular routine all the time. For me, that's very important. So that's why I try not to be just in the office all the time. I'm at, say, project sites on a regular basis, and again, not following a certain routine. Maybe at any moment's notice, I'll just say, okay, I want to visit this site, then I'll just go and then surprise them, right?
Yeah.
So it's always, I think, mixing up your day is very important. And I think also just having fun with the team, right? Like, I know that before they always used to say, work is work, just keep it, keep that line there, so that you're not, your office mates are not necessarily your close friends, and vice versa. But nowadays, you want to achieve so much good things with your staff. That's why spending time with them is important, right? I mean, it's you can't ask too much out of your team if you're not actually going to be there and show that you're one of them and that they can have fun with you and things like that.
Is there anything that you would like to impart to young entrepreneurs, young business owners?
The advice I always give, and this will be so corny because I'm sure you've heard it all the time, is you have to fail, right? That's something that I think I've said over and over, because we are all going to fail, so you have to be ready for it, you have to deal with it, and you have to know how to rebound from it. But nowadays, the other thing I try to say even more is to have fun, right? I mean, yes, failure is a given, that's going to happen, but try to have fun with what you do as much as possible. I mean, there's more to life than just succeeding in your business. The good thing about that is if you fail in a business, you have the opportunity to actually make up for it and to do well again. But if you're not happy in life and you're depressed all the time, it's kind of hard to get out of that.
Yeah.
Diba? So yeah, maybe it's just focusing on the important things. Work isn't the most important thing. Of course, it's extremely important. But yeah, just focusing on, you have a baby on the way, you already have a child, and I mean, there are much more important things than just work, right?
Oh no, I was that was supposedly the last question earlier, but I guess it just goes so well together when you talked about there are other more important things in life. So I think the question in every young entrepreneur's mind is, how do you achieve the whole work-life balance thing?
I think nowadays it's even easier to achieve work-life balance because of the tools that we have. I mean, maybe that's one of the good things that the pandemic brought, is that people learn how to work remotely. Everyone has Zoom on their phone or any kind of messaging device. Everyone knows how to communicate with each other at any given time of the day. So we're not anymore in that world where, okay, people are working 8 to 6 or whatever it is, because even people that are in corporations, yes, your hours are 8 to 6, but you have your phone, you have your devices, and you can communicate at any given time of the day. So work-life balance, if I'm an entrepreneur, I don't necessarily need to get up or get to the office at 8 o'clock. I can be working out first, and then after that, then I work, then I take a break, then I can just have a routine like that, so that at any given time of the day, if you have to be with your family, if you have to go to your kid's school for graduation, or for a school play or whatever, you can do that, and then after that, then you just go back to work, right? So it's not anymore where it's like, okay, work has to be this hour, and then I only have you from this hour to that. It's at least that's how I hope things would be, right? It's like we live in this world now where everything's so flexible, and just like this, it's a flexible workspace. You work how you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an appropriate ending. Talking right back to the Regis lifestyle, working how you want.
Yeah.
Yes. In these beautiful, flexible workspaces.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Sir Cary,
Thank
for
you so much.
answering our questions
Yeah,
and
well,
inspiring all of us here.
I hope I was of some help at least.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Have a great
thank you.
day.
Guys, thanks for coming. It was good seeing you. And
Yeah, it was really great
congratulations again.
seeing you. Again.
Yeah.
Again. Because, everybody keeps saying that you may as well, have the next child right after. Rather than have it a couple of years